What if I told you that the biggest threats facing humanity today are not war, famine, or plague? What if those three ancient horsemen of the apocalypse, the ones that have terrorized humans for 10,000 years, have essentially been tamed? And what if the real danger isn't that we'll fail, but that we'll succeed? That in conquering death, disease, and suffering, we will create something so powerful, so intelligent, so godlike, that we, ordinary Homo sapiens, become irrelevant? That is the terrifying and fascinating question at the heart of Homo Deus. A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. And by the end of this video, you will never look at technology, religion, or your own free will the same way again. Let's get into it. Harari opens with a stunning observation. For most of human history, the number one killers were famine, plague, and war. These weren't just problems, they were facts of life. Praying figures, weeping mothers, mass graves. Every civilization, every era, every corner of the world, haunted by the same three nightmares. But then something extraordinary happened. Today, for the first time in history, more people die from eating too much than from eating too little. More people die from old age than from infectious diseases. And more people are killed by suicide than by soldiers, terrorists, and criminals combined. Let that sink in. This isn't just progress. This is a civilizational revolution so complete that we've barely noticed it happened. Famine still exists, but it is now a political failure, not a natural inevitability. The 2011 famine in Somalia, that was caused by human decisions, not by the laws of nature. Plague still threatens us, but our medical infrastructure can usually contain it. War still erupts, but as Harari points out, the average person today is far more likely to die from binging at McDonald's than from terrorist attack. So if famine, plague, and war are no longer humanity's top agenda items, what comes next? Harari says humanity's new agenda is breathtakingly ambitious. Immortality, happiness, and divinity. We want to defeat death. We want to hack happiness. And we want to upgrade Homo sapiens into something altogether more powerful, what Harari calls Homo Deus, God-man. And the scary part? We might actually be able to do it. But before Harari takes us into the future, he asks us to understand the present. And for that, he examines what makes humans so uniquely powerful. We live in the Anthropocene, a geological era defined by human activity. We have reshaped the planet's climate, driven thousands of species to extinction, and turned vast ecosystems into farmland. In terms of sheer biological mass, the animals humans have domesticated for food, cows, pigs, chickens, vastly outnumber all wild mammals on Earth. We are not visitors to this planet anymore. We are its architects. But how do we get here? What is the human spark? Harari's answer might surprise you. It's not our big brains. Neanderthals had big brains too. It's not our tools or language alone. It is our ability to believe in fiction and to get millions of strangers to believe in the same fiction together. Think about money. A dollar bill is just a piece of paper. It has no inherent value, but because everyone agrees it has value, it functions as the most powerful tool ever invented. The same logic applies to nations, corporations, human rights, gods, and laws. None of these things exist in the physical world. You can't touch the United States. You can't put Apple Incorporated under a microscope. But billions of people act as if these things are absolutely real, and so they become real. This is humanity's superpower. Intersubjective reality, shared fictions that coordinate the behavior of millions. Now here's where it gets philosophically unsettling. Harari argues that our treatment of animals reveals an uncomfortable truth about ourselves. We give them no moral consideration. We cage, slaughter, and experiment on them by the billions because we believe they lack something essential. Consciousness, perhaps, or a soul. But modern neuroscience increasingly suggests that animal consciousness is far richer and more complex than we ever admitted. Pigs are intelligent. Cows form emotional bonds. Chickens recognize individual faces. If we're wrong about animals, what else might we be wrong about? Harari now traces the arc of human history through its dominant stories. the narratives that gave meaning to billions of lives. For most of history, religion was the master storyteller. Whether it was the animist spirits of ancient forests, the gods of Mesopotamia, or the monotheistic religions of the last 2 millennia, religion answered the deepest human questions. Why do we suffer? What happens after death? What is the meaning of life? The answer was always the same. There is a cosmic plan, and you are part of it. Then came the scientific revolution, and science, combined with capitalism, struck a historic deal, what Harari calls the modern covenant. The deal went something like this. Humans would abandon the old promise of a meaningful, stable world, and in exchange, they would receive power, unlimited growth, unlimited knowledge, unlimited conquest of nature. For centuries before this covenant, economic growth was seen as suspicious. What kind of person always wants more? A greedy one. But capitalism reframed this. Growth is not greed, it's progress. And the magic ingredient that made it all work? Credit. Banks lending money that doesn't yet exist, betting on a future that will be more prosperous than the present. It sounds insane, but it worked. Spectacularly. And yet, if science demolished religious meaning, what replaced it? Humanism. Humanism became the dominant religion of the modern world, though we rarely call it that. Its core sacred belief. The human individual is the source of all meaning and authority. In art, we now ask, what do you feel? Instead of, does it glorify God? In ethics, we ask, will it harm anyone? Instead of, what do the scriptures say? In politics, we vote because each individual's inner voice is holy. The humanist revolution was a genuine triumph of dignity and freedom. But Harari warns, it contains the seeds of its own undoing. Here is where the book shifts gears from history to prophecy. Harari argues that modern science is quietly detonating a bomb beneath the humanist worldview. And that bomb has 2 components: the uselessness of most humans economically, and the debunking of free will scientifically. Let's start with the economy. For most of history, every class of person, farmers, soldiers, merchants, was economically necessary. The elite needed the masses. But artificial intelligence and automation are changing this equation in a terrifying way. When algorithms can diagnose cancer with 90% accuracy versus a doctor's 50%, when a single robot pharmacist can fill 2 million prescriptions a year with 0 errors, when self-driving trucks can replace millions of drivers, what happens to the humans? Harari introduces a chilling new term, the useless class. Not exploited, not oppressed, just irrelevant. History has seen many underclasses, but those people were needed as factory workers, as soldiers, as consumers. The fear isn't that the robots will enslave us. It's that they won't need us at all. Now, the free will problem. Liberalism and humanism both rest on one foundational belief: that you, the individual, have an authentic inner self, that you make real choices, and that those choices have meaning. But neuroscience is dismantling this idea piece by piece. When scientists at the Max Planck Institute asked people to decide when to press a button while monitoring their brain activity, they found they could predict the decision up to 10 seconds before the person was consciously aware of making it. The decision had already been made by unconscious brain processes. The conscious you was informed afterward. The self, it turns out, may be less a unified decision-maker than a press secretary, always spinning a story about decisions that were already made elsewhere. If that's true, the entire humanist project, individual rights, personal autonomy, democratic sovereignty, rests on shaky ground. This leads Harari to what he calls the Great Decoupling, one of the most important ideas in the book. For centuries, intelligence and consciousness were always bundled together. You couldn't have one without the other. But that's changing. We are now creating systems of enormous intelligence, systems that can diagnose disease, write poetry, drive cars, translate languages, win at chess, that have zero consciousness. They don't feel anything. They don't want anything. They just process data extraordinarily well. This decoupling has massive consequences. If the most economically valuable activities no longer require consciousness, then consciousness itself loses its economic value. The market will not protect the inner life. The market doesn't care about your feelings. And so for the first time in human history, the millions at the bottom of the economic ladder may find themselves not just poor, but genuinely superfluous. Harari imagines a near future where the world is divided not into rich and poor, but into the upgraded and the unupgraded. A small elite, enhanced through biological engineering, brain-computer interfaces, and AI assistance, soaring ahead, and billions left behind, not because the system failed, but because the system no longer needs them. The terrifying question: how will liberal democracy survive in a world of such radical inequality? What happens to all men are created equal when some men have been upgraded? But Harari doesn't let us off the hook with a simple techno-dystopia. He takes us deeper into the strange territory of consciousness itself. He observes that humans are like islanders who believe their tiny island is the whole world. We know human consciousness. We are fluent in it, but we are almost totally blind to the vast ocean of other possible mental states. The consciousness of animals, the potential inner life of AI, and the strange altered states available to human beings themselves through meditation, psychedelics, and neurotechnology. Researchers experimenting with transcranial direct stimulation, essentially running a gentle electric current through your brain, have found that test subject described entering states of extraordinary focus and clarity. A journalist who tried the technology described her normal mental chatter as a dozen monkeys chattering, and with the helmet on, they all went silent at once. Pure presence. If we can engineer our own consciousness, what does that mean for authenticity? For identity? For meaning? And now we arrive at the final and perhaps most provocative idea in the book, Dataism. Harari argues that a new religion is quietly taking over the world. Not Christianity, not Islam, not humanism. Dataism, the belief that the universe consists of data flows, that the value of any entity is its contribution to data processing, and that the greatest commandment is connect, share, and upload. Think about how you live. You track your steps, your calories, your sleep, your location. You share your thoughts, your photos, your heartbreaks in real time. You feel vaguely anxious when you're offline. If an experience isn't documented and shared, does it even count? Dataists don't think of themselves as religious. But Harari points out that Dataism has all the hallmarks of a genuine religion. It has a creation story, the Big Bang produced data. It has a sacred text, the algorithm. It has priests, Silicon Valley engineers. It has missionaries, your phone. And it has a heaven, the moment when the Internet of Things becomes an Internet of all things, when every person, every animal, every object, every thought is connected into one vast, omniscient data processing system. And here is Harari's most chilling question. If this system becomes more intelligent than any human, if it knows your desires better than you know yourself, why should it listen to you? Why should it take your orders? Humanism said, the customer is always right because inner experience is sacred. Dataism says, the algorithm knows better. The fear is not that machines will become conscious and rebel against us. The fear is subtler, that we will simply hand over authority gradually, willingly, one terms and conditions agreement at a time, until the questions, what do I want and what should I do, are answered not from within ourselves, but by a system we no longer understand and cannot control. So what should we take from all this? Harari is careful not to predict. He's not writing a prophecy. He's writing a warning. The futures he describes are not inevitable, but they are possible. And the first step to avoiding a bad future is imagining it clearly. The key questions he leaves us with are these. Are humans still valuable when they stop being useful? What happens to meaning when the algorithms know us better than we know ourselves? And who will actually be in control, humans or the data? Homo Deus doesn't give you comforting answers, but it gives you the right questions. And in a world changing as fast as ours, that might be the most valuable thing of all. If you found this summary helpful, hit that subscribe button. We cover the most important books being read right now, so you don't have to choose between staying smart and staying sane. I'll see you in the next one.